Hi, this is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. I wanted to do a video. I did a blog, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago about the historic temperature trends for Anderson and Madison County. The data was all based out of Anderson's data because that's the only city that's had long-term data in Madison County. But that got me thinking about the precipitation and snowfall trends over the course of our history as well. So this video is kind of going to incorporate or encompass our temperature trends, our precipitation trends, and our snowfall trends. And the snowfall trends actually were kind of surprising to me. So first we'll go back to the temperature trends. This is a chart that you already saw in the blog. And this is the mean temperature. And as you can see, and as I discussed in the blog, the trend line is created by Excel spreadsheet. By the way, I don't create the trend line. So the overall trend line is down for our mean temperatures, which is the average of the high and low temperatures. So the our mean temperatures since 1896, which is when Anderson's data began to be collected, has overall been down. It's been cooler than over the historic average. And of course, then I boxed these in for you and showed that 1921 has been our hottest year. 1978 was our coldest year. 1979 was our second coldest year. And then from there, temperatures have pretty steadily been trending back up. And I had boxed in this 22-year period where the temperatures were steadily above the trend line. Then we had this 31 years where they were steadily below the trend line. And then here over the last 22, 23 years, we've mostly been above. Then I got to looking after I had done that blog, and actually, if you start down here, you can also see a steady trend up, then a sharp about 10-year correction down, and then another steady trend back up. So, I kind of wonder if climate cycles continue to repeat themselves, and that's a huge if. I have to wonder if we're maybe not on the edge of beginning another one of these type of corrections back to where we'll see a sharply cooler trend. We're in a solar minimum right now, and we've had a lot of those, but if this one runs a little longer than what the others have been, the solar minimums tend to be a little bit of a lagging thing. If we go into a solar minimum, it doesn't instantly cool things down, but after a couple of years, it can do so. So we'll see what kind of an effect. The way solar minimums work is still quite uncertain as far as how they affect our climate. But at any rate, I just kind of wonder if we're maybe not getting ready to go into another cooler correction and then begin another trend up. What I've done since then was I broke down also, this is the trend on daily high temperatures. And so, again, our hottest year was 1921. And which you can see, and then 1953 is our second hottest year. Those are the only 2 years that are above 66 degrees for an average, annual temperature. Then we had our sharp downward trend again. Actually, on the maximum temperatures, the trend downward was a lot longer. It went from 1953 to 1978. And then since about 1981, then we've begun to trend back up some, although you can see over the last about 12 years, we're seeing a trend back down in the average high temperatures. The minimum temperatures, we're actually gaining on this. The only place where we're seeing a rise in minimum temperature or in average temperature is in the lows. And that'll kind of make sense when we look at the precipitation trends, because what tends to happen with low temperatures is if you have higher moisture content in the air, it works like an insulator, stops the low temperatures from dropping as much. So more moisture laden air will cause the high temperatures to be, or the high temperatures to be cooler and the low temperatures to be warmer. And that's kind of the trends that we've seen in our temperatures. What was remarkable to me was right here in 1963, the average minimum or the minimum temperature for the year was 37. And there are no other years that are below 38.6. So this 1963 was a very just out of character year. Our warmest minimum temperature has been in 2018. In fact, if we go back a couple of slides, oh no, I thought I'd made it on. Oh, here's the chart with all three of them put together. Sorry for being sort of disjointed here. When you look at them all together, you see the mean and the highs trend pretty well together. The lows tend to somewhat trend with it, although you can see the gradual uptick in the low temperatures. In this little information section here, I broke down our warmest year again was 1921. Our coldest year was 1978 for high temperatures. We saw warming from 1900 to 1953, then cooling from 1954 to 81, warming from 1982 to 2002, and then a general cooling trend again from 2003 through 2019. Minimum temperatures follow pretty much the same progression, although we did have a steadily cool period from 1964 to 81. That's this area right in here where it just kind of got cooler than the trend line and stayed there. And then on minimum temperatures, we've seen warming since 1982, but again, that's largely on this right here on the low temperatures. So then we get to average annual rainfall, or just liquid precipitation period, because I believe this encompasses snow melt as well. And you can see at the average rainfall, we had some anomaly years in here, but the average rainfall, until 1984, most of the years were between about 35 to 42 inches of rain every year, and it was relatively stable. You had a couple of really dry years, some dry years back here, but and a couple of really wet years. But you can see that beginning, right in here, maybe 1984 and on, we're seeing a pretty sharp increase in the amount of rainfall we're getting every year. I know in the mid 80s, our average annual rainfall was around 36.5 inches, and now we're averaging about 43 inches per year, and that's on the strength of this right here. The things I found interesting in the precipitation was that there have been no years with less than 30 inches of rainfall since 1954, but there were 6 of them between 1896 and 1954. So really, even in our driest years haven't been horribly dry, but they're dry relative to what we're used to. Then also, we've had 9 years of 50 inches or more of rainfall, and 6 of those have happened since 1990, and 5 of them have happened since 2006. So 5 of our 9 50-inch rainfall years have happened in the last 14 years. I found that. I knew the precipitation trends were up, but I didn't realize that they had turned up that hard. And then the one that really kind of surprised me was the snowfall. A lot of us, myself included, are what Twitter tends to call snow weenies. We love our snow. We hate it when we don't get our snowfall. And we tend to feel neglected with a lot of these winters that we've been having, where we're only getting, 15, 16, 17 inches of snow in a winter, and we think that's horrible. But what I found surprising, and I promise y'all I'm getting ready to start using a screen recorder instead of my phone, so these videos will get better. But what I found astounding was, if you look early on, the early 1900s, there were decent snow years, and then you hit 1919, and from 1919 to 1951, or 1950, there were no winters with 30 inches of snow or more. None. For 31 years, no 30-inch snowfall winters. There were only a handful that were even over 25, I think 3. There were 15 winters in that same 31-year span where they had less than 15 inches of snow. By contrast, since then, in the 68 years from 1951 on, there have only been 12 winters with 15 inches of snow or less. So, and now 3 of those have occurred in the last decade. I also found it amazing that back here at 1896 was 46.8 inches of snow. They didn't have another 40-inch winter until 1974. 78 years with no winters with 40 inches of snow or more. I just found that amazing. And again, I found this, I knew the 30s had, were low on snow, but it really, the 20s through the 40s, 3 decades, were quite low on snow. By the same token, we've had 5 winters with 50 inches of snow or more, and all of them have happened since 1978. All 5 have happened since 1978. The most recent one was the 2013-14 winter, and of course we haven't had a big winter since then, so that's what we all kind of get hung up on, is our winters are horrible, because we had the 2010 winter that was big, and then the 2000, really 12-13 was good, and 13-14 was huge. And so we kind of get hung up on that, and we tend to think, well, our winters here lately have been horrible, but compared to what was going on back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, we're really doing pretty well. And I also noted, I didn't put the graphic up here, but going back to this period right here, a lot of us that are in Generation X tend to be the ones that are the most hung up on having big winters. From 1976, from the 76-77 winter to the 83-84 winter, 4 of our 10 snowiest winters occurred in that 7-year span, really, 7 winters. Four of our top 10 winters occurred in that span, and really, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we had 4 winters in that span that were over 40 inches. Another one right here that was close to 40 inches. A couple more that were over 30 inches. We really only had 1 bad winter in that stretch. And I think it was 1981-82 or 82-83 maybe. But other than that, I mean, we kind of grew up in this Goldilocks era of big winters. So that's kind of why we tend to be hung up on thinking our winters are horrible now, because as kids, we were just big winter, big winter, big winter, big winter. And now when we're not getting that, then we tend to get a little spoiled on it. So this trend really surprised me to see just how bad the snowfall, how bad the winters were back in the, I mean, look at some of these winters: 5.5, 5.9, 6.2, 8.6, 8.8, 10.1, 10.4, 11, 13. And then you have to, you got a couple here that are in, the 14, a couple more 14, 10.1, 8.8. I mean, it just was, they had a lot of bad winters in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So maybe we shouldn't be as spoiled as we are with our snowfall. But at any rate, and again, the snowfall kind of has increased as our precipitation has increased. And so that's I found these trends kind of interesting, and I thought you might find them interesting too. There's not a huge trend in temperatures. And again, these trends are strictly for Anderson. They're not to be construed with global trends. But nonetheless, we're always hearing about it's getting hotter, it's getting hotter, it's getting hotter. And then when I looked at our trends for our region, it's actually been getting cooler. And as it's gotten cooler, our precipitation has increased. Some of that has to do with if you're too hot or you're too cold, you don't tend to get much precipitation. There's kind of a Goldilocks range where you tend to get a lot of rain, and we seem to be migrating into that. How long that's going to last, who knows? All it takes is one major event somewhere, a major volcanic eruption or something, to reset everything. But at least for now, we're kind of in this major era of generally big winters and big rainfall years, and we'll just see how long it continues. Probably whenever there is a temperature reset, like what happened from the mid 50s to the mid 60s, there's also going to be a precipitation reset. So, we kind of want, those of us who want snow tend to think we want some cooler winters, but maybe we really don't, because when it starts getting too cold, then you don't tend to get as much snow because the air is a lot drier. So I'm starting to ramble, so I'll cut this off, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you enjoy what we present to you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on our website. I hope you're visiting our website, helping us get some traffic on there to help promote the website, to hopefully some business sponsors to help us keep doing what we're doing. If you're in a position to be able to help us out, that would be greatly appreciated as well. So I'm probably going to do I'll turn all this into a blog where it's more coherent also. But and then I'll probably here pretty soon be doing something about temperature anomaly maps. I've touched on that on the weather page a couple of times, but that's something that I really have a passion about. I have some issues with temperature anomaly maps and the way they get used. So I'll probably be doing a blog and or a video on that here pretty soon as well. I also plan to start doing at least a video a week, kind of detailing what I see in the upcoming weather patterns and why I see them the way I see them. So in the meantime, thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you for trusting us as your weather source. Over 12,000 of you across 3 platforms is just unbelievable and flattering, and we're greatly appreciative of you, and we hope you enjoy what we do. And so for now, this is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates, and we will talk to you soon.